Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Outside the Playbook. I'm Josh. We got Doom on and back with us for another episode. But before we go into any content, if you like what we're talking about, like the conversation, think what we're doing is dope, I need you to do two things. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. Because you liking what I'm saying right now and you still tuned in, survey says that's one more for the good guys. What's going on, Doom?
Everything good,
Not
man.
much,
What's going
man.
on with you?
You know how we coming? It's about
Yes,
that,
sir.
it's about that
Yes,
time,
sir.
man.
We talking
Yes,
about
sir.
the best
Yes,
team
sir.
today.
So we're looking at the Southeast Division. Last year, I feel like, I don't want to say it was an anomaly type season, but I feel like for Miami and specifically that division, it was like one of those things where, I mean, we just going to see what happens, go with the flow, follow the flow of the season, and, you know, whatever happens, happens. Because normally it's Miami, then you get Atlanta, and probably Charlotte, and then Washington, and then Orlando. That's been the stack on that division for the past, I don't know how many years. So last year, we seen with the Atlanta Hawks, they was able to come through. I don't want to say it was a surprising season, but it was like one of those things where they finally met the expectations. Pierce got fired, sadly, but they ended up moving Nate McMillan into the head coach and sharing it. You seen the turnaround right away. And the demeanor of the team, first of all, the demeanor of the team changed too, because they had like a new sense of toughness. I don't want to call it arrogance, but their confidence wasn't misplaced like it used to be. You know what I'm saying? Like they had a reason to have a type of swagger that they had. But I mean, looking into this coming season, you see they lost Chris Dunn, they lost Tony Snell, they lost Brandon Goodwin, Bruno Fernando. He was actually a pretty decent young player. I liked him when he would come into games. He was kind of like what was it, Sampson from Indiana, you know, maybe 5 minutes or so, just to give you some spot minutes, somebody that had a little bit of promise. But you lose them guys, and then you also you trade Rondo, but you pick up Lou Williams last season, and then you don't really do anything to bolster your roster. You pick up DeLon Wright, but he hasn't really done much in the past couple years. Jahlil Okafor. Now, I would classify him like this. He is the new Michael Beasley for me. One of those guys that you say, if he get in the right location, the right situation, he can meet those expectations that was set for him when he came out of college from Duke. I like him a lot.
Yes, sir.
They got Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot from Brooklyn. But with the roster, as I said, I mean, they're basically in run it back mode. Like I said, they pick up Okafor, and that's just about it. Do you think because it's a run it back situation and we know what to expect from that team, do you think it's a situation where we can see Trae Young take that next step into the MVP conversations?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, honestly, like even with the team right now, it does nothing but make him better. To be honest with you, and Trae is just Trae. Like I think each year, I mean, it's been a short career for him, like obviously, but with each year you see something new. Like you kind of see the same, we've seen it since college, man. Like we see the same, hey, I can go crazy off the shot, off the scoring ability, but I can still give you 10 assists. So like the fact that I think the best thing about him is it gets scarier and scarier on how like higher his confidence is getting. And I mean from a playmaking standpoint, and also I'm gonna give Nate a lot of credit for that, the coach a lot of credit for that, because I think that he got with him and he took him a little bit more off ball.
Yeah.
So he's able to like kind of move around screens and things of that nature. So it takes a little bit more pressure off of him as opposed to like constantly, you pretty much like 6'1" or something like that, real small, 160 or something like that.
With his shoes on.
Being double teamed, just stuff.
With his shoes on.
With his shoes on too, right? You know what I mean? And then being constant, and you can't, that against like, a 6'7" and a 6'11" double team, and that you can only go so far with that, even with being godly crafty as he is. So yeah, I think it's only up from here still. MVP, I think he should be in there.
The one way that I will say he gets into the MVP conversation, because he's going to be an all-star. We know how gifted and talented he is. He can score with the best of them, shooting, so on and so forth. The one way I feel like he can thrust himself into the MVP conversation is the same way Steve Nash did when he went to Phoenix. Is how much better can he make John Collins? How much more of a threat can he make him and feed him the ball? Because, I mean, you know, Stat was already a monster when Stephon Marbury was there. It was Sean Marion. They was pretty scary. When Steve Nash went to Phoenix, it was that pick and roll mix up, that pick and pop, whether he was going to the hole, and that increased his face up game, his post up, so on and so forth. If he can do that for John Collins, then I see him possibly sneaking into the top 10, top 5 in the MVP discussion next year.
Definitely.
I'm tempted to just skip right to Miami. Let's talk about let's talk about Orlando real quick.
Okay.
How confused are you by what they're doing? Because
Orlando.
Because look at this, okay? They lose Dwayne Bacon, James Ennis, Otto Porter. That's about as important as everybody is on that end, but they add Robin Lopez, Etwan Moore, who's been floating around. I feel like he's on a different team every season. I feel like year after year we just gotta I mean, I kind of understand why Chuck isn't very good at who he played for. Like that, this makes sense. This is like his fourth team in the last 5 years or something like that. Then you add Franz Wagner. I think it's what's his name, little brother from Michigan, from U of M. And then they get Jalen Suggs from Gonzaga. The situation I have a problem with is, one, you trade for Markelle Fultz. Okay, I understand he does go down with an ACL injury, but you draft Cole Anthony, and then you draft Jalen Suggs a year after that. So literally you have 3 young guys that play the same position that could potentially do a lot of the same things. I imagine Fultz should be healthy. He got hurt early last season, I think. So he should be trying to work his way back pretty soon. So now you have 3 point guards. Don't really know what to do with them. Don't really have a system in place for them to operate and learn and flourish and, you know, do all the things that they're capable of doing.
Right.
From what I've seen is they don't have any sense of direction. They're just one of those teams that's just, let's see who we can get, or let's see what we end up with by training camp. Same with the Sacramento Kings. I don't see a sense of direction for them. Do you think it works out in their favor that they keep loading up so much at the guard position?
Yes and no. Yes, I think so. Well, no, you know, obviously, because you don't want to be like too guard heavy, of course. Yes, because I just think that, like, as a whole organization right now, they're just looking for somebody to step up and become something so they can work around. You know, that's like, I do agree with you on like them being just kind of like chicken with the head cut off at this point. You know what I mean? Just pretty much trying to figure something out. You know what I mean? I think that we're trying to work. I mean, I'm glad Gordon got up out of there.
Oh,
you know
man.
what I mean? But and I think after that, pretty much it was just, hey, like, let's find somebody who can do, you know, spark something, whether it's from a fan standpoint or, you know what I mean, or some sort of, I mean, obviously you want wins, but someone that people can like latch on to and go like this guy, pretty much.
They got Jalen Suggs at number 5. I mean, I don't remember too many bigs in the draft that I would say belong in that spot, because that's where they picked him at. But I think that Cole Anthony could have been that guy. I really think so. I think he's the type, he kind of reminds me of, he could be a CJ McCollum type player. He could be that type of scoring. He could put that type of scoring output together if you give him a chance, you know, a couple of years down the line. But I don't like the idea, because now you have Fultz coming back like, hey, I was a number 1 draft pick and you didn't really give me a chance to show what I can do. Cole Anthony,
Exactly.
I've been here since day 1 of this process and I've shown you what I can do. You have Jalen Suggs coming in.
Right.
I'm a high draft pick. You've seen what I did in the NCAA tournament. I could have gone somewhere else, had my agent rearrange something so you didn't have to draft me, but you chose me, so you need to give me the minutes. That's the problem I see coming in, because it's not the situation where you have, 2 vets and a young guy, to where they can communicate, work things out, have an understanding like, look, I'm just waiting for my moment, then I get my chance. These are 3 very young dudes, so if you don't plan on using one of them, I think you have a situation where you could make a deal somewhere else, but you have to come up with a plan before this gets out of hand. Because like I said, Markelle Fultz is coming back and he looked pretty good before he got his ACL injury hurt. I think he was on the track to where we thought he could potentially be, maybe not number 1 draft pick, but a lottery pick at that.
For sure.
You look on the flip side, the Charlotte Hornets don't have that same problem. They're actually at the point where they're throwing themselves into playoff discussions. Before we got on, we talked about Kelly Oubre. He was added. I believe he did have an injury last night, but they added Kelly Oubre, Mason Plumlee, Ish Smith. I don't think there's any other notable players that they added. A lot of others are just fillers for the training camp. And then you look at the side that they lost, Devontae Graham. I'm sad to see him go, but I think you have to. Give a little more control to LaMelo and Terry Rozier in the backcourt as well. So you don't want to run into the same problem. That perfect example. The Charlotte Hornets solved the problem that the Magic just created for themselves. They had 3 guys, same position, do a lot of the same things, or check a lot of boxes. So you get rid of one of them, you pick up somebody else, and I think Kelly Oubre was the right piece to add. You lose Caleb Martin, you lose Malik Monk to the Lakers, and you lose Cody Zeller to the Portland Trailblazers. Is it time to be discussing a playoff appearance for this team?
Yeah, I think so. I think with the starting 5, I mean, I think that these guys are comfortable. I think they're happy right now. Like, things are looking, and honestly, I feel like LaMelo made that last kind of little bit of like his ability to move the ball around and like facilitate made everybody a lot happier. I mean, if you look at the last few years, or just any of the years under MJ, man, like all the players was just kind of like out to get there.
Yeah.
It was one of those spots. It was like hey, let me just go crazy here, or at least do something, so then when I get shipped somewhere else, I have like my resume kind of stacked up for something bigger potentially. Now I think it's just like, okay, cool. We have a core group who I see them being together for a little while. Hopefully.
I hope so. And, I like this team a lot.
Man. And I think it's possible. I think it's highly possible.
I was just thinking about that too, because when Terry Rozier didn't get his contract from Boston, he goes to Charlotte, they give him the money, and that's exactly how that first season went. You hear Terry Rozier putting up big numbers, but they weren't winning any games, but he was getting a shine. I mean, he's a talented dude, very talented young player. I've liked him all the way back to Louisville. But I think his confidence can sometimes be his downfall, because he's extremely confident in himself, but his ability to make his teammates better hasn't always been his strength. You add LaMelo into the scenario, and that's his biggest strength. So now you have Rozier and Melo feeding off each other. Then you add in PJ Washington's ability to hit the boards, spread the floor as well. Miles Bridges, I think he is the second coming of Vince Carter. I think he's the second coming. That might be a different conversation for a different day, but I think he's next up. And I think he was playing the Hawks, and he got a dunk against Vince Carter. Like, Vince Carter was there, he got a dunk, and he did the rev it up. I gotta find that clip, but I think he did that. And then you got Kelly Oubre added to the situation. I hope he's healthy. But I think this is a nice team that you can start looking and planning for a playoff appearance. They have the right pieces. They can shoot the deep ball. I think all 5 guys on the floor can shoot at any given time. But it's the up and down
Definitely.
game. This is going to be one of the fastest teams in the league, in my opinion. If they get it figured out, they're going to be a run you out the gym type team, especially when you play them on their home floor, crowd rocking. I think this is going to be a very promising season. I think we definitely see them in the playoff situation once again.
For sure. And for a team like that anyway, man, like, nobody is necessarily expecting
Mm-mm.
championship. So, like, the pressure, as exciting as they are, man, the pressure
Yeah.
is not that high. So if they wind up going far, just by some chance, whether they mesh or injuries or whatever the case may be, it'll definitely put a bigger spotlight on what they're capable of doing.
Yeah, possibly get some other free agents to be more attracted to the idea of going to Charlotte. That'll help them
Definitely.
bolster their bench. Might be a vet or two that'll look to go there and try to, help the young guys, help them improve and grow and get to that
Hmm.
next level. Um, I think their biggest issue though is, do you want to ride your young point guard to the point where you jeopardize him in situations where he could be injured or start to miss games because you're playing him maybe 40 plus minutes. I understand, a lot of players in the league play those type of minutes, but I feel like the way Melo plays, because like I said, that's a lot of up and
Hmm.
down, and his slender stature, a lot of tougher guards, they may be more aggressive and more feisty with him. And when he gets to the hole, he might get touched up here and there. Do you want to continually put him in that situation, or do you want to get somebody to come off the bench and help him out a little bit? Um, Looking at the next
Hmm.
team, uh, you remember that scene in the movie Get Out when he was walking around the party talking to everybody, and he shook my man's hand, and he was talking to my man's that he recognized, and he started to look at him. He made that face, and he almost started crying a little bit, and he tried to tell him to get
Oh,
out.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So we're gonna talk about Bradley Beal. Uh, they just offered
Oh,
Bradley
man.
Beal. They
That's a
just
crazy
offered Bradley
reference.
Beal the extension, and from what I hear is Russell Westbrook had that same conversation with Bradley Beal right before he got traded to LA. That's what they said a couple of days ago. He said Russ
Mm.
tried to get him to leave, and he wouldn't go. So Russ took the trip
Wow.
out to the Lakers. Um, on top of Russell leaving, they also lose Ish Smith. Ish Smith is probably my favorite backup point guard in the NBA. I love watching Ish. When he come in the game,
I
it
love
changes the
that guy.
complexion of the game, the speed, the tempo, everything. And he's pretty smart, very crafty once he gets in his lane, but he can run the offense. That's what I like about him.
Yes.
You lose Robin Lopez, you lose Alex Lynn. People nobody really cares about. Not to be offensive, but if I'm looking at an NBA roster, I'm not terrified to see them on the other side. Um, in
Not
the
at all.
trade with Russell Westbrook, you get back Contavious Caldwell Pope, you get Montrezl Harrell, you get Kyle Kuzma. We'll talk about him in a minute. You get Aaron. All right, so you know what? I can't let that go. Look, all right. So before we got into the content and everything like that, I had a parlay on tonight's games, and I had the Washington Wizards win it by 2. After the first
Okay.
quarter, Kyle Kuzma was already over 5. I had to cash out because I wasn't gonna let that ride. I seen the way it was going, and
Right.
like I just, I just couldn't take that chance, man.
And I'm scared. Look, and trust me, I'm scared to know whether or not he went into playmaker mode.
I'm gonna check the box score. I'm gonna check it as soon as we in this episode. I'm checking the box score. And I'm gonna hit you up. They get Aaron
sure.
Holiday, a good young point guard. He's pretty decent for Indiana. Spencer Dinwiddie makes his comeback from injury. All right, so I've been seeing him all over social media. He looks like he's been in good shape for quite some time now. I like this team if they get another guy. If they can get Bradley Beal another scorer that can be like I said mentioned earlier, CJ McCollum type player, or if I'm New
Right.
York, a RJ Barrett type situation, somebody that can be that secondary scorer that can
Mm.
get you 15 to 20. Um, I don't see
Right.
that on this roster currently. If Spencer Woody is healthy, he can be that. If he's healthy, he can be that, but I don't
Right.
want to rush him into too much too fast because keep in mind, you're still a bad basketball team until proven otherwise. Bradley Beal is an all-star. I feel
Right.
like he needs playoff success to be labeled superstar the same way we treated Jimmy Butler is the same way I'm gonna treat Bradley Beal.
True.
You got to show it to me in the postseason. But I think they have a decent lineup. You know, if you look at Trez, you look at Beal, Dinwiddie, Kuz, Holiday, Pope. You still have Hachimura. You still have Bertans. That's a pretty decent 6 or 7 guys right there. And you're 1 or 2 pieces away from being in that play-in conversation. Do you think that Ben Simmons is asking, you know what, maybe I could be added to that Wizard scene where we could do something special? Do you think that's the type of designation he wants to get to? If I'm Bradley Beal, am I pushing them to add Ben Simmons to this? And then keep in mind what you may have to get up to get him. Is that a scenario that you're entertaining for Washington? Because I think they have been showing up in some conversations for Ben Simmons.
I think it could potentially work. I mean, obviously, like, you know, the big question would be about who has the ball the most. You know, coming off, especially, you know, now Bradley Beal is, you know, Bradley Beal now.
But I think I like it though with Bradley and specifically for Bradley Beal.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think? I mean, because I mean, if I'm in the locker room and I'm looking around and I don't see a Ben Simmons type talent, am I really pushing to make that happen? Is that going to make a big difference if I sign that extension?
I feel you on that, and I think it. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, and I think it also depends on who they give up.
Yeah.
In terms of that, like, you know, I would definitely like to see Ben Simmons there. I think he could work. Like, you're absolutely right. I think he could work with that group, man. I'm afraid of like who they picked up way more than it is if they're able to work together. So like you just mentioned, Kuz, Caldwell Pope, guys like that. You know what I mean? It's so, especially considering, you know, what they've done with the Lakers and stuff like that. No offense, but you know, one day it's here, next day,
you on the back of a milk carton.
It's just like, all right, you know, yeah, like, what do you really, you know, are you gonna get any consistency from these guys? Because if you are gonna have like a Ben Simmons or something like that, obviously you need some ready shooters and some ready and willing shooters. I think a guy like Kuz, who wants to, it's funny, like, you know, like we talked about before, wants to expand his game without verbally saying he wants to expand his games, and it affects the team depending on who you're with.
My biggest thing with Kuzma is I don't think he understands that he was the third wheel in that whole Lakers trio with Zoe, Ingram, and then himself. Like, I don't think he understands that. I think in his mind, the Lakers kept him because he was the best of the three. No, my assessment of the situation was that they traded the best two because they carried the most value to the Pelicans in order to get Anthony Davis. They weren't necessarily saying, we want you to be the third guy. I think it just happened out of circumstance. And as it turned out, he really wasn't as the season went along. I mean, he did have a couple of good games here and there, but when you actually think about that postseason, somebody each and every game did a little bit of everything to contribute. So it wasn't just one guy stepping up to be the third, you know, the third trio member or whatever. It was really two guys and everybody else doing a little bit of something. If anything, I would say Rondo and Dwight Howard combined could be that third person on that championship team. But this is going to be
Definitely.
the biggest. This is going to be the biggest hiccup for the Wizards is Kyle Kuzma.
And that's the only thing I'm afraid of when it comes to stuff like that, man. Like they look okay
On
to
paper.
be honest with you. And like in terms of the Ben Simmons talk, if that's even possible, that'll look even better. It'll just be those for me. It'll just be those guys where, especially like a guy like Kuz, where you have to stay mentally. You have to stay within whatever's going on with the team. I mean, instead of just thinking that anybody can believe in themselves, but it's like you don't want to get to the point where you're going against winning.
Yeah.
Per se. You know what I'm saying? Thank goodness he wasn't like that strong of a factor for LA to where he would cripple them. You know what I mean? You got a guy like LeBron James, AD, and those guys who were able to, even when things like that look kind of sketchy, were able to, he wasn't that much of a factor where he could have completely turned things around and ruined everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And also, I mean, shout
out to Bradley Beal, bro.
Praying for you, man. If you ever see this, bro, just know we in the prayer closet for you. We praying for you, bro. Because look, if we didn't get Kyle Lowry, I was gonna call Pat Riley. I was gonna write a letter. We was gonna do smoke signals. We was gonna try to do what we could to get Bradley Beal to South Beach. That's for sure. Man, it was a Game of Thrones. We gonna send a Raven. We gonna send some Ravens.
I'll be kept in front of dude's house with a sign, man. Like, come on.
Brad, feel bad for him though, because he's in the same situation as Dame, except for the fact that he has CJ. But I mean, it is the Eastern Conference. We don't know what could happen, but
right,
yeah, you got to get out of there, man. You got to get out of there because you in the division with the Miami Heat.
Yes, sir.
We're going to get right into that. So this offseason, the Godfather strikes again. He gets the job done. No cap space. No problem. You trade Precious Achiuwa away. Trade Goran Dragic. You let Andre Iguodala go back to Golden State. Kendrick Nunn goes to LA. Trevor Ariza follows him there. You pick up Kyle Lowry, Caleb Martin, Markieff Morris, PJ Tucker, and Omer Yurtseven. I seen him in the summer league as a young dude that's in the new the young players training camp or whatever you want to call it in Miami, the development camp. I like him a lot. I like him. He kind of reminds me of a little bit of Chris Bosh here and there, the Miami Heat version of Bosh, a very young one. But he needs to plug a couple holes in his game here and there. Defensively, he's a willing defender, but he doesn't have the speed and quickness as Chris Bosh did when he was playing. But I see a lot of similarities there. Now, you have Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy, PJ, Bam, Keith, Dedmon. You got weapons. You got a lot of weapons. All right. Like they like to say, you got a lot of dogs too. What do you see out of this team? In my opinion, or my question is, do you see them having enough to possibly make it out of the Eastern Conference?
Yeah. And I'm not even just saying that.
I was just about to say, it's got to be a non-biased opinion.
No. This is completely unbiased, man. Like non-biased, unbiased. It's completely unbiased, man. Look, the Lowry pickup was brilliant. They still got. You said they still have Oladipo, yeah.
Yep.
Man, I feel like all the other spots, besides the obvious dogs, these up and coming pups. No disrespect. I think it's a team where they finally have the core group. They got a little seasoning in terms of second, but some dogs there. And then they have these vets that can bring up the up and coming. and that's not a lot. Like in like these
Yeah.
days in the league, you know what I mean. Your vet might be 25
Yeah.
years old at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like for me, it's so beautiful to see because of the fact that they have all of that together. Like, you know, they have all of these great roles. They have all of these pieces, and all these up and comings don't have to like hurry up and rush out there to go play. Don't have to, you know, God forbid, you know, injuries or anything like that for our squad. But at the same time, just that ability to like be along some people who have been there, and are ready and willing to teach, man. You know what I mean? And given, lastly, which is really really big for me, when you're around a guy like a Jimmy Butler or somebody like that, or given, you know, other teams he's been on, and they talk about, like, you know, guys like him, Draymond, a bunch of different players with that type of attitude. If you come in, I feel like you come in with a guy like that, and you understand that like all that passion might mean just means that he wants you to be better. Come on, man. Like you saw how he was with Duncan and everybody else, man. He might have been going crazy the same way, but he was also bigging those guys up in the process, and, you know, in the public eye, man. If they're putting in that work,
they was saying, some of the Lakers players were saying that Duncan Robinson carries that mentality to some degree too, because in the NBA Finals they would catch him saying some slick stuff under his breath, not knowing who he was talking to, you know. But I got three things, okay? One is not basketball related. It's just understanding the mentality of the people you just brought in.
Right.
During the NBA season, the Morris twins are playing on the same team. They find out that their mom got a new boyfriend. Okay? During the NBA season, they supposed to be going to another town for a game. Those two leave the team, hop on the plane, find out where that dude is, and beat my man's down, and then gets back with the team. They got sued. They caught a case, and they beat the case, and they kept playing like nothing happened. This story went away completely. This is during the NBA season, all right? So that's the type of dog you got. So, you know, they say a lot of dogs bark, these bite. For real, okay?
Definitely.
You add that. You know what PJ Tucker about. You know Kyle Lowry.
Yup.
Now, my thing about Kyle Lowry is this. He's going to help two people more than anybody else, and that's Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero. And the reason being is strategic, because when you're playing against certain teams, like I said, going back a couple episodes ago, one of those, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Certain teams are going to attack them relentlessly on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to put them in pick and rolls. They're going to try to get the switch and get the matchups they want. One of the best things that Kyle Lowry does on the defensive end, he will not switch. He's one of the hardest players in the league to pick, because he won't let you do it. If he knows you're attacking a certain player, he's not going to switch off his matchup. He's actually going to cut it off. I've seen him do it with Van Vliet almost every single game, especially in the NBA Finals when they was going at him. Lowry didn't switch whatsoever. He was not letting them get that matchup. Did it against Boston. Same thing with Milwaukee when they played them. When Giannis was trying to get switches, or when Chris Middleton was trying to get, he's not letting them off the hook. So I think that's going to benefit Hero. And ultimately, they're going to become better defenders. And you've seen them, you know, slowly but surely get better. Robinson was miles and away a better defender last year than he was the year before, because it was just a bucket. I mean, no matter what happened, you know you was getting the bucket on him. Last year, not so much. He started to move his feet a little better. I look forward to how he's going to help those two guys in that scenario. Third thing, Victor Oladipo, if he buys his time the way he's supposed to, if he takes his time coming back, gets his reps in, starts to feel a little better, gets into basketball shape, by, I want to say, December or January, there's a hole on the Miami Heat that's purposely left open, okay? They don't have a backup point guard, technically. They have Gabe Vincent, but they don't have a backup point guard specifically to fill that role. That's because when they got him, they expected him to be that ball handler when they went to the bench. Goran Dragic, he started filling that role with the starting lineup, and Oladipo was supposed to fill in the second unit and be that de facto point guard. I like him in that situation with this team because now you have more spacing coming off the bench. Whether you have Keith or whether you have PJ Tucker off the bench, they can both space the floor. You still have Bam or Dedmon under the rim, but you still have Duncan, Hero. You have Lowry. Max Strus, a sleeper player on this team. He's a sleeper,
man.
If he can get you some spot minutes when somebody's down and out, I'm perfectly fine with him stepping into that role and fulfilling that role for the night or two. But like I said, if Oladipo can come back remotely healthy in December or January, which is, I believe, was the target that they threw out there a couple months ago, if he can come back then,
right,
I don't see many teams knocking this group of healthy players. That's a key thing. Health, I don't see too many knocking them off in 7 games outside of the Brooklyn Nets.
Right. I feel you on that. That'll be really, really tough. And I agree with you. Health, obviously for league wide, but specifically for this team for sure. And even the Nets, health is gonna take, it's gonna be the major factor. Because I honestly feel like they can. I feel like right now they can stop the Bucks. Like you said, it'll be back and forth with the Nets, but I don't see anybody else in the East really knocking them down like that.
And there's nobody that they can't guard at all 5 positions.
That's the biggest thing for me. I'm a two-way guy. I'm a two-way type of guy, and I promise you, like you said, man, you got some dogs, man. That's the best way you can put it, man. You got some dogs, and you got some guys that's really about defense and really take pride in it. And I'm just excited about this year, man.
Think about this though. Late game. Now this is with Oladipo healthy. Late game situation, you need to stop. You got Lowry, Oladipo, Jimmy, Morris, and Bam. I'm okay with switching everything except for the 5. I'm okay with that. Of
course.
And 9 times out of 10, they'll do it anyway because that's their philosophy. But I'm fine having Bam on a point guard, a shooting guard. I'm okay if you switch him out. I don't know too many players on Miami's roster I'd rather have on KD, rather have on James Harden, other than Jimmy probably in that late game situation. Right. But I'm okay with late game situation with that 5 on the floor. I'm confident we can either get a stop or get a bucket because you're 9 times out of 10 going to have to get it done on the other end. I don't have to make any substitutions in that scenario. I have the players I want on the floor.
That's true.
Unless maybe you want to swap out somebody for Tyler Hero or Duncan Robinson on the offensive defensive substitution situation. But I'm perfectly fine on both sides of the ball with that lineup.
Right. The spacing is like the defense and the spacing is nasty.
Man. Another question to bounce off that. Do you see Jimmy going for 20 plus every night? Because that's not really his style, but do you see him doing it this year?
I believe he can, but I don't think he has to.
I selfishly want him to, though.
I do. No. That's the only reason why I said it the way I said it. I really do want him to. I really do want him to do his thing. I just know for a fact that he don't have to. That's it. Just me personally. I'm with you, bro. Me personally.
If he decided to, he could give you 25 plus every night. And that's what bothers me about him, because he'll have those games where he's just in the flow of the. And here's my biggest thing about him. He was drafted as a role player. He was drafted as a supporting cast member. Sometimes he forgets where he's elevated to, because he'll still act like he's a supporting cast member. Like, nah, bro, you only have 3 shots in the entire game. I get moving the ball around and playing within the flow of the offense, but I need Jimmy buckets. I don't need Jimmy Butler right now. I need Jimmy Buck. You know what I'm saying? I need you to give me 20 straight. That's what frustrated me about the NBA Finals. Like, bro, you could do this all the time. You did this for 6 straight games. Like, granted, he looked like he was gassed, but he made us look like we had a chance to actually win that series. Albeit if Bam and
Definitely.
Dragic were healthy, it could have gone to 7 games. But still, that performance against one of the GOATs, that's nothing to
Yes.
slouch at. And especially the way he was doing it.
Nah.
40-point triple doubles.
Especially on the
Man.
biggest stage.
Biggest stage, like you said, biggest stage, 40-point triple doubles. I'm gonna need some of that in the regular season. Because if they win games, I mean, we seen it the first year he was in Miami. They were winning games. They were beating tough teams, tough opponents, and they were beating the bad teams as well, home and on the road. He could have been in an MVP conversation if he was scoring more. And that's literally the only thing that was held against him. He wasn't scoring enough to be in that conversation.
Right.
I'm looking forward to this year, man. I think we got another one on our hands. Like I said, a healthy Nets is the only thing that stands in our way. But I like our chances going into the season, especially the postseason too, with everybody healthy.
And I like my chances if James Harden is checking Jimmy Butler, bro. I ain't even gonna hold you.
Hey, he got his number.
Whoever that man, I love James, but whoever that man is checking, hey,
I like that matchup.
I ain't lying, bro.
I like that matchup. Yeah. As soon as he get the rock, I just need somebody to clear out that right side for me. Just clear it out all the way.
Yeah, just go to work.
All the way.
And honestly, going into what you were saying, just about like selfishly kind of wanting to take it there. If he chooses to, he becomes one of the best facilitators in the league, bro. Especially now with the roster that we have, it's deadly because like he get in that like that free throw elbow kind of near the block area. Nice little pass in. He got the turn fade.
You got to send help.
Come on, man. You have to. You have to. He's mastered another that. One. So
like Shaq said, I'm gonna put that on the t-shirt. I'm gonna put it on the t-shirt.
Hey, for real.
Send another one. That's going on the t-shirt. I'm gonna do that tonight.
Yes, sir.
Hey,
yes, sir.
Appreciate you doing another episode with me.
Hey, all love, man. Hey, look, y'all better stop playing. Y'all better check out Outside the Playbook, man. Stop playing with my guy right now.
It's gonna be a nice season.
He taking it to the next level right now. You see the hat, you see the jersey. Stop playing around.
Going crazy this season, man.
This is the next best thing that's coming on YouTube and everywhere else.
Survey says that's one more for the good guys. We out.
One more for the good guys.